Hi everyone, welcome to GCSE Sociology. There were a number of queries and a lot of questions about when are we going to start GCSE Sociology at National Tutors. So here I am with the detailed discussion and introduction to the subject as well as the different aspects of the content and the exam requirements too. So let me introduce myself to you. My name is Sofia Kamran, and I've been teaching this subject for last 21 years. I've taught at different levels and across the boards, and I basically perceive sociology to be a very rewarding and a very gratifying. It has actually enriched a lot in terms of my own personal journey. So I believe when I teach the subject, I believe that it's a basically a great experience to know about the different cultures, to compare and contrast the collective behavior across the globe. And GCSE sociology is a really wide-ranging kind of a set of contents and where we can develop within the student, we can enable them to develop a certain eye, a certain lens that through which they can see for themselves how societies evolve, how human groups relate to each other, connect to each other, and become they can become very reflective and mature students as well. So I personally believe that my personal goal is not only to make students enable really, well, equipped to attempt questions in examination hall. But beyond that as well, they must have a very wide worldview. They must have an appreciation for the cultural identity, the cultural diversity that is there within the across the societies. So let's talk about the subject. Let's deep dive into have a deep dive into the whole content, ideas, the sets of contents, and having a little overview of that, we'll find that uh, there are a number of themes, wide-ranging themes basically, which explain the societies, which explain the different cultures, comparison within them. We can draw parallels between the different societies. And there's a certain type of emphasis when we talk about GCSE sociology. There's a certain kind of focus that is there, which is not only to talk about or study the curriculum, like for instance, we'll be studying about families. So it's not just that we'll be also developing a certain kind of lens or an angle through which those themes and ideas will be studied. So, a sociological approach is, in fact, a very essential element in that when we study the different chapters and when we talk about interrelationships between them. So, like, we'll be having a certain angle, and that would be the different perspectives. And there will be a number of perspectives that we are going to learn. So, we'll be studying the social agencies and the institutions within the society, and those are families and education, and the legal and the social system within governments that are there that exist in every society. So, like, we'll be studying structures through the lens of functionalism, Marxism, feminism. We'll be talking about families at great length, like it's not only just, definitions and the different types of families. We'll be talking about the evolution of a family as a social structure and an institution. We'll be comparing the different families across the globe. We'll be talking about how within the family setup there's a very great interplay of relationships between a family or a household, like between the spouses, between the parents and the children, and the other family members. And again, through the lens of the sociologist, then we'll be talking about education in similar way. I'm going to shed more light on it later on. So, like just to give you the idea that these are the main contents, these are the main topics that we are going to talk about. We'll be talking about education, the journey or the evolution of education as an agency of society. We'll be talking about crime and deviance, a very significant topic, a theme that uncovers a number of interesting factors that generally we do not know, or we just overlook sometimes. We'll be talking about the inequality that exists within the different societies, and the topic is social stratification. Now, this is a very baseline topic that we'll be uncovering, and there are various types of uh, pictures and lenses through which we see the inequality or the divisions within the society. Last but not the least, we'll be talking about the research methods, and these are really important ideas through which we know, and we try to actually explore that whatever data we get, that whatever information that we get, it is through a journey, through a procedure of collection of information, of painstaking studies that were conducted by the sociologists and the researchers. So we'll be talking about that as well. So, if we see the assessment overview at a glance for paper one, the title is The Sociology of Families and Education. And what is assessed in this paper? The three topics that are there are, we'll be talking about families, the sociology of families, and then education. That means the sociology of education, as well as the relevant areas of social theory and methodology. There are different studies, there are different investigative researches that have taken place, and to make us understand, to make us familiar with the different ideas through those, evidences that were collected by the sociologists themselves. So, like, students will be expected to, um, uh, to develop a kind of an understanding, and which should be really rich, which should be, broad-based and comprehensive. It should be it should be relevant enough that they'll be able to analyze it. And we are here to teach them how to analyze. There will be definitely other videos, lessons based on the examination tips and tricks, and the questions walkthroughs, definitely. So how it is assessed? When we see the format of the paper, it's a written exam having the duration of 1 hour 45 minutes. The maximum marks of the paper are 100 marks, and which is like it's half of the full GCSE. If the GCSE paper, like, total are 100, so this is the 50% of paper one, is constitutes the 50% of the whole syllabus. Now, the questions, the format are that there will be section A having two multiple choice questions, which will be followed by a range of short and extended responses. Section B also has two multiple choice questions, which will be followed by a range of short and extended responses. And we'll be talking about them later on in the lessons pertinent to, will be focused on how to teach, how to make them, the students, more able to, or fluent in writing their answers in very effective manner. So paper two is basically, constitutes the chapters that are going to be assessed are the topic of crime and deviance, sociology of crime and deviance, or sociology of social stratification. Both are very important topics, and they will be based on the previous topics as well, like whatever the student will understand and learn in families, the topic of families and education will be really relevant to whatever is taught in this as well, in the topics of paper two. And we'll be also talking about these with reference of the evidences. Students will be supposed to incorporate the relevant theories, the relevant studies. So they should be able to back their answers with the those hardcore sociological facts and associated theories that will be, that will support their answers, and their definitely provide a good backing or citation, which will make their answers stronger. So the assessment is in a similar way. The duration of the paper is 1 hour 45 minutes. Total marks, like maximum marks, are 100. And this is again the other 50% of the whole GCSE syllabus. Questions are like section A will have two multiple choice questions followed by a range of short and extended responses. Section B also having two multiple choice questions followed by a range of short and extended responses. again, I must tell you that do not worry about what will happen in the end. Definitely, you'll all covered in this regard. You'll be definitely given the separate lessons on how to practice examination questions. Sure. Okay. So, when we talk about the chapters or the topics, and when we see them in at a glance, we find that the first thing that you must understand, that the student must understand, is there's a certain type of approach that has to be incorporated and that has to be used. Like there is a lot of debate. The factor of debate is really essential when we talk about GCSE sociology. So there's this debate between two sides, and that is conflict versus consensus. Conflict means, you find in every society there's some sort of, when first talk about consensus, in every society, we find that there are certain grounds or bases upon which the whole society is held together, gelled together. People find harmony or understanding within the social system. And that means that there's a certain type of agreement or a common ground on the basis of the common value system. For instance, when we talk about the Western democratic societies, the societies of like Britain or or America or any other Western European country, you will be finding them based on certain liberal values, certain type of advancement, very uplifting and forward-looking democratic system, a system on which the whole society believes in unquestionably. So this is called consensus when everyone believes in the similar value system, perceive the society in a similar way, having common goals, having the goals of development, supporting each other, collaboration, and cooperation. So this is just one example of consensus. Then you see understanding within the society. As compared to conflict, you can also find conflict within the same society. Like within the society of British society, you'll be finding there, a number of debates. Within the system, within the human groups or collectivities of humans, you'll be finding that people do disagree with each other in civil manner. Like they do have differing ideas or different ideas, maybe on the political system, maybe on the religious beliefs, or maybe on the class systems. So both the things are present in almost every society. So like these are the debates that are discussed generally in sociology, GCSE sociology, and the lenses through which we see the whole journey is through the prominent sociologists, like there were functionalists who have contributed a lot to this subject. Functionalists were the ones who were the founding fathers of sociology. So, when I'm going to talk about in the next slide about who were the main functionalists, and then Marxism as well, another very important perspective. So, in short, so Marxism also talks about some grounds of society, but it's more on the conflict side. When Karl Marx himself has identified the grounds of the basis on which society is divided. uh, Similarly, feminists are there, the supporters of the women's right, or the ones who criticize the patriarchal order that exists in almost every society. So, like feminists basically see the inequality or the unfair treatment of women in the different social setups, and they highlight those inequalities. Uh, and there are interactionists too. So interactionists talk about in what way society is shaped by very small scale micro interactions among the human groups. So yes, these are the sociologists, the prominent sociologists. Like Emile Durkheim was the one who was, one of those founding fathers of sociology. He has given a lot of contribution to the doctrine or the perspective of functionalism. So that kind belongs to basically the school of thought of functionalism, and which has given a lot to the subject of sociology as an academic discipline. So, Durkheim has talked a lot about consensus, about unity that prevails in the society. In what ways, what are the things that join or combine or gel the society together? So and there are, so this, he belongs to consensus school of thought. Then Karl Marx, if you know him, and you'll be knowing him so well after knowing the subject. The reading about GCSE sociology, definitely. So like Karl Marx has given the foundation, or he has laid the foundation of Marxism. All his writings, all his perspectives and ideas later on became the school of thought or the theory of Marxism. And there were later Marxists as well. After him, there were a number of writers and contributors to the viewpoint. So, like he talks about and he highlights the division within the society on the basis of classes, social classes, like maybe upper classes or working classes, or the elite group and the people who are not rich, or the people who are monetarily deprived. So, like Marxism is another viewpoint that talks about conflict perspective. And there's another very profound sociologist. His name is Max Weber. Weber has given the ideas, which again, his ideas became the baseline ideas of sociology too. And he has talked a lot about the types of power, the types of institutional categorization within the society, how ideas become so significant that they impact upon the human group. He also has talked about a lot of structure, has given a lot of emphasis on the structural basis of the society. So, like we'll be talking about mixed labor as well, and there are more sociologists. Because of scarcity of time, I won't be talking about all the perspectives here, but we'll be just going through that what are the basic themes and ideas of the subject. We'll be talking about different sociological perspectives and in society on the society, like how do the perspectives of Marxism, functionalism, and feminism talk about the themes of family, education, economy, and so on and so forth. We'll be talking about in what ways family gives that particular element to the whole society. How does family provide and produces to the whole society? There are social processes like how people learn norms, values, and roles, and what are basically norms, what are roles, and what are values. We are going to talk about that. Then we'll be also talking about the different phenomena, like the issues like crime, the divisions within the human groups, the biases that the humans have for each other sometimes, the poverty that is there, that prevails in some societies more than the others. Then we'll be talking about the interrelationships between the core ideas of sociology. We'll be talking about all the topics, like we'll be talking about families, education, deviance, and the social class and the class structure. So, and moreover, we'll be talking about the research methods too, like in what ways society has been basically researched by the different prominent researchers. Like there were studies, there were surveys, and there were different types of case studies which were conducted to know or to uncover the various phenomena within the society, like in what ways education serves the society, in what ways families of the different cultures they really develop and they become very important, you can say, structures in terms of providing those rational, reflective, and thinking human beings who can contribute to the society eventually. So, like research methods are basically, they are related. They are not airy-fairy ideas. They're basically context-oriented. And there were various researches that were conducted on the dark side of the family, on the divorces, and in what ways there are some families that are not functional anymore. So, like these studies are really important and really interesting as well to know and learn about. There are so we'll be talking about a number of research studies like written by Paul Willis, or there were feminist sociologists like Wolby, and there were like various crime studies that were conducted, as well as on the economic systems. There's a very important theory that was given by Louis Althusser that we are going to talk about. Then we'll be talking about the key sociological terms and concepts. You'll be learning about them, like very important uh, terms are key terms can be socialization. It's again a very baseline kind of topic and a theme as well, in which We try to educate the children that in what ways human beings become the regular human beings. It is a very long journey and it includes primary socialization, secondary socialization. What is a society? What is the definition of society? What are the different norms and values within the society? How people's roles differ? What are roles in fact? How do people perform their social roles? Like role of parents, role of teachers, and and the role of the different maybe people on the position of powers. We will also talk about the phenomena like people's behavior, collective behavior. Sometimes it's a behavior that really has a very deep impact on the others, like labeling, like stereotyping. Labeling means when people are judged, and mostly this is done in the educational sector, sometimes in the law enforcement agencies as well. It is related to the topic of crime and deviance, but mostly labeling is can be seen or can be evident in the educational settings. So, like these are some topics that we are going to shed light on. Now, what are the requirements in general for the students? Students must be able to, critically evaluate, compare, and contrast sociological theories within each topic. They must be able to demonstrate knowledge and understanding of key sociological theories by analyzing and evaluating extracts from sociologists. And for each area, for each theme, students should be able to demonstrate understanding of relevant research methods and methodological issues. For instance, official statistics or official data, qualitative, quantitative data, and there are other methods which can be like triangulation, mixed methods. They should be able to debate and challenge social issues using a lens, a certain type of lens. As I told you earlier, they should have that sociological backing or the perspective or a window through which they see the society. Now, I would like to make you familiar with how, in what ways this is actually categorized or divided. The content, each content, like of sociology of families, when we talk about that, it is divided into certain sub-themes. So, like, we'll be talking about the different family forms. Like, in some societies, in many societies, basically now has become really popular that they should have the nucleus family setups in which there are only two generation family in which there are two spouses and children. And in some societies, still we have the setup like the joint or the extended family setup. Then we also see family form and the diversity within the family form across the societies. Like we have cultures, so different cultures like South Asian culture or Afro-Caribbean culture or maybe Vietnamese culture. So like we'll be seeing family forms, we'll be seeing functions of the family as well. Like in what ways? Families perform different functions. There were different functions when families originated in the beginning. The past, the previous functions of the family were very different to what they do right now. There are families which still are really, like formulated or they are patterned in the same way. But we find there's a number of we see changes within the family setup. Like the roles have changed over a period of time. There's a lot of shift. There's a lot of transition that we see. We also see like within the family, the two spouses interact with each other, what type of roles they share. Like there can be the term that is used, it's basically conjugal roles between husband and wife or between the two spouses. And we'll be seeing it according to the functionalist, Marxist, as well as feminist perspective. Prominently, feminist take is really seen as a very influential theme in this regard. Similarly, education also has various categories or sub-themes. Like we'll be talking about how education actually has evolved as a structure or social agency. We'll be saying how the different roles within the educational arena can be seen. What is the role of the teachers? How does the whole education system work? There are different viewpoints about the functions of education. Like Marxists have their own take, whereas functionalists give a very different idea. Like functionalists basically have this opinion that education transforms or transmits the cultural norms, just like family does. So it's a very, it performs a really essential function of, sharing of values, sharing of ideas, and also education system is based on a fair system. It's a very meritocratic system, and we'll be talking about what is meritocracy as well. So there are different positive functions that this education, the schools perform according to the functionalist. How, in what ways people, students are able to achieve or not, or otherwise, like they are not able to achieve or be, or they underachieve. So like we'll be talking about from the lens of the different sociologists, in what ways children are able to achieve, what are the hindrances, what are those glass ceiling factors that affect their progress. And, achievement or underachievement can be studied through, like at different levels, like gender, in terms of ethnic minorities, in terms of social classes, how these these identity groups, how are to what extent they are able to achieve. So I like this goes on, and like this goes on like it is similar to crime and deviance. It will be similar to social stratification. It will be similar to research methods and So like all the themes will be subdivided into various different sub themes, and we'll be that means in short we'll be discussing a number of things, and we'll be having a very robust, a very comprehensive kind of study when we'll be dealing with GCSE sociology as an academic discipline. So, like crime and deviance as well, we'll be knowing some interesting facts on how people become, the young people mostly become the delinquent or deviant. What makes them, what leads them to indulge into criminal activities or deviant behavior, to what extent society is responsible for their behavior, and to what extent it's their own personal failure or personal phenomena that leads them to commit crimes. We'll be also talking about to what extent law enforcement agencies and the state machinery works, and how do the sociologists, psychologists, and the society as a whole help these people, the deviant people. So this will be a really interesting topic of discussion, definitely. So, like, and this is very important for you students to remember that there are a number of, it's a wide range of key terms and concepts that you must remember. I have given you just a glimpse of it here, in the different boxes. These are really longer ones. I've only mentioned the starting from with A or B. There's a whole list, and it's also not limited to this. There are more, like, it also is related to research methods as well. So like we'll be you're supposed to know more about the terms and the definition and the descriptions of the terms. And we'll advise that you should remain within the context of the premise or the ideas that are given by the your curriculum. So you have to remain within that particular arena. So they basically are intended to indicate that students have to engage meaningfully with the subject content. While they will be able to identify the definitions of these terms, they will be more able to further expand on the topic area, in a more effective way. And last but not the least, if it's the last, yes. So, like, we'll be talking about the sociological texts that are recommended for you, highly recommended, in fact, by the syllabus, by the board. So, you have to actually incorporate these texts and studies and researches in your answers. All right. Particularly the longer ones, particularly the answers that require you to analyze, give your own opinions, and draw parallels. So there are studies like by Talcott Parsons on the structure of the family, and Rappaport on families in transition, as well as like Stephen Ball, and like in what ways observation was conducted in terms of the teaching methods, in which ability groups are basically judged and studied. A very important and profound study by Bozinchitis, in which schooling in the Western societies, particularly schooling in capitalist America. That's this title of this study, in which both Bose and Chintus try to give us a very important idea about in what ways students are not able to grasp the very basic idea of, the pursuit of education because of class inequalities, and in what ways education system just mirrors the future or the workplace demands. So they give a very important, insight into how and in what ways the slogans about equality, the slogans about the meritocracy and just system is not all really very, it's not basically in reality. What really happens is, it's not always a very fair system, education system, and in at campus, at campuses, the students are basically the victims, or students are basically the ones who suffer because of various, maybe the judgment by or the labeling done by the teachers, unfair system in which curriculum is really sometimes mundane, boring, and does not offer a lot in terms of learning, active learning of the students. So, like, it's a very important study that we'll be conducting. We'll be actually exploring Durkheim study on education again, in what ways functionalism gives a lot of it basically functionalism gives enormous value or enormous mm, insight into how education is really important and vital for the whole society. In what ways schools are really integral or essential for the benefit of the whole society. So, like the kind of studies also there, and there are a number of studies like a Goldthorpe study like on affluent workers, in which social class system was deeply studied, and there are like Charles Murray's study about in what ways state is responsible, it's more of welfare state that's responsible for a kind of a dependency culture in which a working class further, gets degenerated. And what ways does this happen? So this is all about it. This is all about it. And when we put it together, we find that GCSE Sociology is actually a great avenue for you to learn about the different cultures, about the structures of the society, and the forces that shape our regular lives. So this will definitely, I hope that this will equip you, enable you with with the abilities to think for yourself, to think critically, and to have to develop the analytical ability to sharpen your answering skills, your awareness of the social world around you. So, like, hopefully, you'll get all that and more. So, kindly stay connected. We'll be meeting soon with more lectures and more lessons. So, stay tuned and stay connected. Thank you so much.